Hi, everybody,
And welcome to your morning cup.
with iBenz Academy.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kara. And today we are going to talk about how Kash, Kara and Ashley, found our high frequency tribe.
Woo! We did it.
We did. And we want to share this story with everybody because we feel like it can be a helpful, believable story to mapping and finding your high frequency tribes in your area, in your life, in your relationships, because it's tribes for a reason, not just one.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction, is that this is one tribe of many tribes. There's not just one. But in particular, we are speaking about our Olympic Peninsula tribe based out of around the Shaman Shack here in Washington State in the U.S.
It's been quite a journey, too, and we would not be here today without the iBenz method, without the tools and the body work from Inelia. It's just like, amazing what we've done to come this far, honestly, both in time and space, literally moving and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the whole orchestration of it has been pretty incredible to see it unfold, and then to just be able to be a part of it. I think it wouldn't have happened, to your point, without the iBenz method and practicing the tools, putting them to use and in action, which is what we're here for right now, why we're even talking to everybody. Hello, everybody out there. We're talking about the tools in action, and I guess I can start first because my story began a little bit earlier than yours. It goes way back. We were laughing before because they're like, where do we start? I'm like, well,
back in 2011.
Yeah, back in 2011, there was a Bill Ryan video. But we're going to kind of skim over that bit. And I'll start back in 2017. It was the beginning of the year. So it was in January of 2017. And I was really motivated. I kind of had one of those days. I woke up in the morning and I was like, you know what? I'm done with being asleep. I'm done with being a weekend empowered awake person. And then, spending my weekdays playing all the games that were now looking back were probably much more low frequency than at the time I even realized. But anyway, so I just had that knowing in me that it was time to wake up. All of that sleepy time was over. And I did the Ascension 101 course. I got it from ineliabenz.com. So shout out to that. If you haven't tried it, take the course. It's amazing. And it's one that actually I had for years. I had this course and I never did it.
What?
Yeah.
That's such a common thing too.
Yeah.
It's such a common thing to maybe have a course and never finish it for years, or even you might listen to it but not actually do it, do the homework, do the exercises. Right. It's a big difference.
Yeah, so when I dusted it off, in my digital file, but I dusted it off. Yeah, I dusted it off, and then I was motivated. I had my why was strong, let's say that. So
what was your why?
That I was done being this sleepy version of myself, that I knew I wasn't living to my full potential, and that was time to fun's over, playing in now what I would say the light dark paradigm, and it's time to just step fully into my empowered self and my awake self. So I wasn't satisfied in that game, right? So I did the Ascension 101 course, and I was very committed and very diligent, and I had some immediate transformations that I recall, just awareness and ability to process, and even the emotional body, the ego body, mental body, so many aspects of the course that were really significant and became a part of my daily practice. I practiced yoga daily, and then that was also now these other tools were a part of it, and aligning the bodies and things like that. So then once I did that, I then finally also became a member of Walk With Me Now, because I had this is like, I felt so good about my life and just what was starting to happen on a regular basis. And I was like, I want more of this. But I also want to know other people who do this too. Funny thing is, I had known about Walk With Me Now for at least a couple years, and I kept thinking, it's too much money, it's too expensive. And then when I go to join, they had like just raised the prices, so it's even more money. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But I thought to myself, it's like a gym membership, or I had put in my budget, and this is if it's valuable to me, I'll make the time and money and effort for it. So I did. I joined Walk With Me Now, and like instantly, I felt like connection to people, and I was so excited, all the tools, resources, almost so much that it's like, oh my God, where do you start? And it just so happened that Inelia announced probably a few months later that she was going to do a workshop. Or no, excuse me, a retreat. Yeah, because they just opened the Shaman Shack, and so she was offering 2 retreats.
It wasn't even built at that point when they announced this retreat back, or 2 of them back in 2017. There's a whole story around it, and I think even some videos you can check out on YouTube, but the Shaman Shack was literally built the night before. Like, it was finished with like appliances being, implemented, and the plumbing and all this, like literally the night before everyone arrived.
There were some amazing co-creators. Of course, Larry and Inelia, but also our dear Hopi, phenomenal, helped make all of that possible.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure a number of other people that we aren't going to name because I don't know them all, but
Gaia, Human Collective, they definitely made it happen.
Everybody who showed up and helped.
Yeah.
So, then Inelia made this announcement in the forum that she was going to do this retreat, and it was open to Walk With Me Now members to enroll first. And I was just like, oh my God, I got to do this. I have to do the retreat. And just so happened, I had a lot of poverty programs running at that time, but I had exactly the right amount of money in my savings, and that was like all that I had.
So you literally spent every dime you had on this retreat.
On the retreat, yeah.
Wow,
and
that's
I was
amazing.
like, I've got to do this, but I was torn. I think there's like a form you fill out to enroll, and I think I filled it out like 5 times and didn't submit it. But then I was like, no, I'm doing this. So I did. I finally submitted it, and I was like, it's done,
Nice.
But I had everything I needed for the travel, for the stay, to attend the retreat. So it was all set. And then I went to the retreat, and even building up to the retreat, it was like there was so much energy around that, and I got to meet so many people, and that felt really good, because then like Walk With Me Now, because I had to be more engaged in kind of the coordination of attending the retreat, became even more dynamic. And it wasn't just like, random username.
Yes.
Goddess. It was like, oh, that's Kara. I know Kara.
Yeah.
Or all the other amazing entourage members we met. So then at the retreat, of course, I met yourself, and I mean, like, so many people I love and adore and who are still in my life today, and really good friends. And during the retreat, I had some life decisions to make too. There were things I went into it like, what do I do? Like, where do I live? I have a fiance, and we're not really compatible in some ways. And, just trying to decide, like, what do I want the rest of my life to be? And the funny thing is, a lot of these elements were things I was also working on through the Ascension 101 course. So I returned home from the retreat, and my relationship dissolved. I ended up then like contacting Larry and Inelia actually, and let her know that I had intentions to move out to the Olympic Peninsula. Reason being, which I didn't mention earlier, but when I came out here, I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is like the place I've been dreaming about. Like, if there was an ideal place for Ashley to live in the world, this is it. Like, the entire area, the water, the trees, the mountains, and both like fresh water, salt water. And then it was just so quiet. It was like I arrived to the Shaman Shack, and it felt like I was yelling in my head at myself. Like my thoughts were so loud. It was like I was screaming. And I was so used to being in a city, right? In a heavily populated area. So having a really high volume thought was normal until you go out there and you're like, whoa, it's quiet.
It's really loud in here in my head.
Yeah, let's turn that dial down a little. So with that, I really fell in love with the area and I wanted to come out here, but there were some, bases that I needed to cover. Like, where was I going to live? How was I going to make money and support myself, and so on and so forth. And through that process, when I contacted Inelia, ultimately, I also let her know that my intention was to do mentoring with her, because she also had started doing some mentoring and let folks know on Walk With Me Now and at the retreat that she would take on some students to do one-on-one mentoring with. And I wasn't quite there yet. Like, I didn't have all my bases covered and figured out on how to get out to the Olympic Peninsula without quitting my job. And then how would I have an income? And, all those things weren't covered. So, but I was really firm on the intention. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's probably about a month later, everything changed at work. I got a promotion. And then my income pretty much doubled. I ended up then shortly after that, my job became remote. And then I think I got like another promotion. Wow. And
what tools were you using at the time that led to that transformation around your work? Do you remember? Like, was it continuing the Ascension 101 course, or was it doing mentoring work, or just the focus? Or
I think it was really, at that time, it was much more the focus, because everything in my life was in flux. Mm-hmm. Like, I was, packing up an apartment and separating from a long-term relationship. And so there was a lot of like just doing like ego exercise, emotional body processing and things like that going on. But I think what the biggest push was, my why was really strong, and I was like very, very motivated for it. But I really think what kind of helped push me through that period was all the work I did before in the Ascension 101 course. Mm-hmm. And then like continuing just to process my fears and processing firewalls and things that came up. So I ended up being in a position where I was kind of in flux. It was like everything was up in the air. And when I thought like I was going to have to like leave everything, it was like everything became very mobile in my life and flexible on where I could be, like where I was based and all of these things. But I had a solid income, so it's great. And then I, shortly after that, I would say it was 2018, the beginning of 2018, I started doing mentoring with Inelia. And through the mentoring, I was very specific that I wanted to lay my roots. I'd been a gypsy for a long time, live in different places, like year after year, finding a new place to live. And I really wanted to find a place to settle and lay my roots. And the Shaman Shack and really the Olympic Peninsula itself was like where my heart was. But I also wanted to do my due diligence and really explore it. So through that, in the work that I was doing around it, I did the Gaia guided exercise. You can find it on Inelia Benz YouTube channel. But with that exercise, that helped me to kind of narrow down where I wanted to be and where did Gaia want me to be and what was most compatible for me. So that was amazing. And it's just such a powerful exercise. And once I had that, then I was able to start looking at, okay, why haven't I settled down yet? Why haven't I laid my roots yet? And start doing processing of firewalls, looking at the programs. What do I want to keep? What am I going to drop? Looking at my fears. What does it mean to be settled and to like have my roots? And then I also did a lot of like daydreaming. What would it be like? And there were some other locations I looked at as well. And through the daydreaming, I was able to kind of notice if there were any like negative programs running, or maybe, I don't believe that's ever going to be possible. And then you can, I could look at it and then respond and have some type of let's say, choice around it, right? No longer being unconscious to it. So there was all of that. And then the actions, like actually taking steps of researching. What was it like in Washington and the other places I was looking at? Like, where would I buy my groceries? You know, what are the things that are important to me that I would like to have in a place where I live? And then I contacted a realtor and was looking at properties. I came out again and I visited, I think at least once, but maybe twice, I can't remember. Visited the Shaman Shack to check out the area again. And then I came out and decided to meet with and I did a vision board, excuse me. But then I came out and I decided to meet with a realtor. And it's funny because I looked at one property, I really liked it, and then it was like gone. And now I didn't even look at it in person. That was online because I was in Arizona at the time. And so it was gone pretty quickly. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's not mine, you know. And then I found my current house, which I didn't know was my current house. And I contacted them and they're like, yeah, it's been on the market for several months. And a few people have seen it, but no one's made any offers. I said, okay, well, I'm going to be out in a few weeks. And they said, well, call us when you're in town. If it's still available, you can check it out. So I came out and I was just like, oh my God, when I got here. And I had my tribe with me because Larry and Nelia came and Hopi came. And so it was cool just to have that support and entourage, right? Allies in the process. And checked out the house, just absolutely fell in love with the house, but also the location was just amazing. There is a river behind the house. It's just a couple houses from the beach. There's just... yeah, everything was perfect about it. It all just kind of came together, fully supported around the financing. That was amazing how it worked out. Even certain aspects around the financing that weren't going to work for me ended up getting changed like overnight. Hey, guess what? The policy changed and now you can do this. That was pretty neat. And then it was like the whole thing. Like once I had like really found alignment to like where I wanted to be, what my why was, what I was looking for in that, you know, what I wanted to experience, and then did all the processing to remove all those blocks and barriers. It just like came together with so much ease. And it was a lot of work too, though, like not to discount that. There's a lot along the way that I did through the processing. It was probably about 4 months of mentoring and I would say very intense, like going to work and then being done with work and then focus, you know, just focusing on this manifestation and focusing on my vision board and focusing on my processing and my daydreaming and my research. And I knew it was a very big life decision. So I was all about it. And I was living with a family member at their place. And so it helps. I had a lot of push, you know, I wanted my own place. And Paul, I wanted to be here. And there's people here who, we connected and it was really well aligned. So, I think that probably covers most of the work that I did around it, but definitely none of it would have been possible without the iBenz method and the tools that are available. One funny thing I'll say though, is that I didn't realize it until after I moved into this house. I was going through some old like manifestation vision boards, and I found this picture of a house with this kayak that looked exactly like my house before I painted it after I moved in, but it looked exactly like my house at the time when I came out the first time to see it, and I totally forgot about it. It was this vision board I made in college like well over 10 years ago, and then here it is. Here's the house.
Wow.
You know,
it's incredible.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's been some amazing exercises on Walk With Me Now that really go into a lot of what you mentioned, like how to do a vision board and what do you look at, what do you consider, why is it so important to do it physically, like in, you know, like printing out pictures and all these things. And that was just like one component of so many things that you have done along the way. And what an incredible story.
Well, and it's that feeling like when we've cleared your path, right? It feels like you're going with the flow of the river rather than going upstream, right? So everything falls into its place, and the orchestration is just amazing. The part that isn't amazing is when you have the desire, but you still have your blocks up, or you're like aiming in the wrong direction, or you're kind of, you have that feeling like you're going upstream. That's not amazing, but that's the red flag, right? That's the feedback. Like, it's not here. It's not coming together. Why? What's the block? And that's when you can start digging in, using these tools to figure it out. So you can change that and have an option for something different.
What really stood out to me about your story was how it began, where it felt like you had this just really strong intent of like, I'm done. I'm changing my life. Yeah. Like, I'm all in, like going high frequency, and I'm done, playing the sleepy game Monday through Friday or whatever it was, right? And then soon after that, what happens? You do this Ascension 101 course, you join Walk With Me Now, you meet all these people. It joined a retreat that led you to the place where you moved and found your tribe and grew community and all these things. And it's incredible. Like, change your mind, change your life, And that's one of the things that I always appreciate Inelia sharing. It's like, you can always change your mind about anything. You can always make a different choice. And it's incredible what that different choice can be and how it can affect your life.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too, like how these orchestrations come together, where literally, like, when I started with the desire, I want to move, right? I didn't have the money. I didn't have the right job set up. I didn't have like anything. And at the time I was thinking, I'm going to have to give all of it up. I got to quit my job. I'm just going to probably sell everything, keep my car, and go drive up to Olympic Peninsula and stay at the shaman truck and try and figure it out, And that scenario is way less supportive than the alternative, And actually in talking with Inelia at the time, like she even said, like, well, is that the most supportive thing for you to do? Or does that feel supportive? I can't remember exactly how she said it. I think it was, does that feel supportive? And feeling into it, I was like, no, that's like scary as hell. Like, right? Quit my job and all these things. That doesn't feel supportive. So then it was like starting to shift my focus on what would be a supportive way for this to happen. And I had no thought that I was going to get these promotions, or that my job would change to be remote, or like all of these things coming up. I didn't know that would happen. But like, I didn't intend for that to necessarily happen. I just intended for the end result. And then it allowed me to at least get out of the way enough and not like control it to the point where the orchestration couldn't unfold in its organic way with the human collective, right? Because it wasn't just about me. And who knows too, through all of these choices, orchestrations that for somebody else that I was a part of through that, right? So it wasn't just about me. But that was pretty kind of cool, I would say, dynamic, and it's just a really cool moment for me when she asked that question. Does that feel supportive? I was like, oh,
actually,
interesting,
no.
You ask. Yep. And that's where I was talking about, when it feels upstream, right? That's usually a good sign that maybe like there's something off there. So why don't you fine tune it, either the item that you're looking at, like how you're trying to get to the tribe, or maybe it's the tribe itself or the location, who knows, right? But those are like a good sign something's not quite right. So it's like fine tune it until you find what feels right. Yeah.
Nice.
So how about for you?
Well, very similar origin story, but also could not have done it without you, my dear. So, back in 2011, when I first watched the Bill Ryan video, no, just kidding. We kind of joke because a lot of people first discovered Inelia, her work in this Bill Ryan video, which I actually didn't. I found her blog before I found the video. But to that point, it's like so much work began long before the choice to move out here began. And it's a very similar intent of like, I'm ready to wake up. I'm done with this. Like, there's something else happening. I couldn't pinpoint at the time what it was. I think it was the split, right? You know, casually, 2011. But it's like, this isn't, something's missing. I couldn't figure it out. But when I found Inelia Benz's work, I was like, this is the key. So, very similar story. I was a member, Walk With Me Now, pretty early on, maybe not like the first year, but maybe like the second year or so. Similarly, poverty programs. I can't afford it. You know, poor college student at the time. Those firewalls come up in so many ways, and it was so inexpensive at the time too. It's so funny, especially for the value you get out of being a member. But yeah, 2017 rolled around. At this point, I was living in California, and there was a retreat. It was the second retreat that was being offered at the Shaman Shack 1 month after the first one in August of 2017. I scanned it at the time and was like, I think I want to go to the second one, because it felt like the Shaman Shack would literally be more built by then. And I think it's part of the library wing hadn't even been finished at that point. But so it resonated to go to the second one, which in hindsight makes perfect sense, because that's where I met you and, you know, so many other folks, amazing friends at that particular time. So went to the retreat, very similar response. Came to this area and was blown away by the beauty. Like, oh my gosh, the trees, the water. It was like idyllic. This area is just so gorgeous. And I like grew up in the desert, so seeing trees and water was a big deal.
We were thirsty desert girls coming up here. We were like, oh my god, the water.
Yes, exactly. Arizona, Colorado. Yeah, it was just so nice to like see lush Gaia, and the environment here feels connected, and I think that was a big part of it. I didn't realize it at the time, but it just felt different. Very much resonated at a deep level. So my physical body was like, oh cool. So came here and was like, wow, it was so amazing to be at the Shaman Shack. And then I remember just daydreaming. It's such a powerful tool, right? The daydream. Like daydreaming, what would it be like to just feel like that every day? Because at the retreat, we were hanging out with amazing people, talking with Larry and Inelia, and just doing cool stuff, you know, like high frequency, expanded awareness stuff. It was
eating great food.
Exactly. Chatting, going out for walks in the forest with the dogs and people. It was like, I was like, wow, this could be life. Like, it gave me that first taste of this is what it could be like. And just to juxtapose that or compare it to like the rat race of California of 2 hours stuck in traffic and the pollution and the noise and the expensive lifestyle that I didn't even like and all these things. So it was such a contrast, the psychic noise like you described, and then that beautiful, serene, clean and clear environment and energy and all that. So that was the first big moment of like, whoa, life could be really different, and it could be different with other people, right? So as you were going through your journey, because we connected during the retreat, we stay connected and was, you know, checking in and chatting, processing our firewalls together, but also just exploring that together too. I think we had come to the Shaman Shack together one more time before we had moved. I remember you were pointing out the house, and
yeah, we were on our mentoring visits, right?
Yeah, exactly. So coming back together in like a different environment too, I think was really cool and powerful, and also just seeing your journey unfold gave me a lot of inspiration. I think it's that like that mapping, or, you know, when you see it done by someone else, it's like, oh, it's possible. Okay, I can do this too. That's what it felt like to me. And fast forward a couple years, I think maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half, I can't remember. But I was getting serious. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with California. I'm getting out. And this was like end of 2018, I think. Okay, so maybe just a year, but still. And I went like, gosh, how am I going to do that? So I think by then you had already moved out here for like 6 months or something. And I was seriously looking at like, wow, okay, I really want to make it happen. How am I going to do that? My blocks at the time were the job. I worked for a company that did not have a culture of remote, very much headquarter based in the San Francisco area. I had 2 spouses, so a lot of other co-creators involved who did not seem to want to move. And just the feasibility of it, like, how do I move my life again? You know, we'd just moved from Colorado to California, and moving somewhere else we'd never planned. That wasn't in the, agenda, so to speak. But I, again, really looked at, like, what do I want? Like, what do I want to experience? And high frequency community was the pull. And seeing you here and seeing you do it and like do it for real, like bought a house, transform your career situation. Hopi and Inelia and Larry were out here too. So it's like they're people. It's so much easier to move somewhere you've never been to, or I should say like lived, when you know other people are there.
Yeah. And
then I think you had reached out to me and said like, well, Kara, you can stay with me if you want. And I was like, what? Like, it didn't even cross my mind that was a possibility.
Yeah.
And not only that, but to bring my family with me.
Yeah.
I was like, you'd be willing to have me and my family stay with you? What? It just did not compute.
Yeah.
Side note, a lot of light workers have trouble receiving. So it was just such a shock of like, it wasn't even in my awareness that could be possible.
I was just like, dude, what are you doing? Come on. I've been here 6 months. You're not here yet. What's going on?
Right?
Right? And let's go. Come on, Kara. Yeah. Let's go. I know you want it.
And I think that's the energy of like, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You don't need to figure it out alone.
Right.
Just like how the tribe was helping you look at the house and see if it's a good deal. And
oh my gosh, yeah. First house I've ever looked at and first house I ever bought. I bought it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if they hadn't been here, I don't think I would have been nearly as confident.
And when you have other high frequency people supporting you and going, oh yeah, or oh no, it's like you listen differently, especially when we know they're awake and aware. So so that was a big component, not doing it alone.
Yep.
And Walk With Me Now is such an integral part of that, but also the relationships that formed out of Walk With Me Now. It's like I owe so much to that community. Mm-hmm. I mean, my entire life has changed thanks to Inelia Benz, her work, the co-creations of Walk With Me Now, all the hard work Ilios put in, and Daniela, and co-creating that space of all the members. Like, it's incredible. And it's funny, at the time, no one knew who I was on Walk With Me Now because I was so lone wolf. Like, I never posted. I would only read what Inelia posted. I didn't care what anyone else said. It was so bad. But after the retreat, that totally changed, because then I went, oh, wow, there's a lot of value to all these amazing people.
Interesting.
These people are amazing.
Interesting things to say.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't all about Inelia and what she had to say. It's
sure.
There was equal value of the co-creations that came from other members, and that was such a big change. So
were there any tools you were doing during that time too in preparation for all this?
Absolutely. So throughout this process, there were 2 or 3 that really stuck out. So similarly, I redid Ascension 101 as well. But what was really important for that time was the goals exercise in that course. And I really narrowed in and focused on my goals. And I was like, okay, in the short term, I want this. And in the midterm, I want to be here. And in the long term, I want this. And I really got serious about it. And just like in the course, it's like, write it out, look at it every day. I did that, put the sticky notes on my desk, and was very serious about it. And that was different, because before I had just casually done the class, but this time it was fully in. So that was a big one. It almost put the goalpost in a visible way for me to see. But after I'd made my choice and the journey was unfolding, there were a couple things I did. I listened to the class Journey into Manifestation. Really important, excellent course on manifestation. And it has some companion courses too that I also did. But that one I think is the main one because it helped me figure out how to think about it from a manifestation standpoint, like that empowered point of view of this is my choice, my life. How am I going to shape reality to have this experience, right? And so the biggest linchpin in my story was my job. So similar to you, my career did not have context or a culture of working outside of Mountain View, California. So there was a lot I was doing at the time. The most important exercise I did, in my opinion at this point, was I think what we casually call the box exercise.
Yeah.
We'll post the link on our show notes, but it's
a good one.
It's a YouTube video where Inelia has you do this exercise. It's an observation exercise where you put all the sticky stuff, all the sticky low frequency program firewall crap. You get physical items that represent those programs. You put them in a box and you observe it and you allow it to express and you release it. And it's a fabulous exercise. So I did this for all of the stuff around my work. And on the other side of it, I was also being proactive because it looked like my job wasn't going to allow me to move and keep my job. And I asked my boss, is this possible? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. So I looked for another job, got an offer, and I will never forget it. I did this box exercise, like, I think it was Sunday night, and I had this interview on Monday. And I did the box exercise, cleared those lines, did the interview, boom, got an offer. Incredible. And I put in my 2 weeks notice. I was like, okay, I'm leaving, bye. And then it's funny because the job I was getting was like 2/3 pay. You know, it was a step back in a lot of ways, but I didn't care. It's like,
it's remote, right?
Exactly. I'll take the pay cut. I don't care. I can work from anywhere. That's what I want. I just want to be able to work from the peninsula. And so I put in my 2 weeks notice, and that day, it's the final day of when I need to sign my offer. I was actually sitting on it for a few days. My boss's boss comes to me and it says, Kara, what can I do to keep you here? It's like, oh, well, let me work remote. That's all I want. She's like, okay, done. And not only that, with that day, they had figured out a process so that I could work from Washington as a full-time employee. In other words, not as a consultant, not as a, they opened an entity there. So I would have all the taxes, all the stuff as a full-time employee, all the benefits, whole 9 yards. It's like, whoa. Because that day, my boss's boss said, it just so happens there's another person who is going to go work remotely in Washington. So we're going to open up a branch there so you both can work remotely. And it's like, what? This company has a culture of never allowing anyone to work remotely. And it just so happens the day I'm about to, leave and, call it quits, literally, that another person is literally moving to the same area and all the paperwork is worked out and it's fine. Like, what? That, my friends, is the human collective at work.
Right.
That is how you can feel and see the support of the co-creation, because it was easy. It was, like you said, going with the flow. And the flow was flowing. Did not feel upstream. So once that was done, that was it, and that unlocked the major block behind moving here. And the box exercise was so instrumental to that. And there was, of course, the fear processing and that as well along the way, but it's such a powerful tool. I can't recommend it enough. Like, if you're feeling stuck, on anything. It's so powerful. A way to clear your energy around whatever it is. And that can open up new opportunities and possibilities to happen. So that was a big aspect. But like I said, the other component to it all is having community, you know, like knowing you were here and Larry and Inelia and Hopi, and like I wasn't alone, right? I could ask you for help, ask them for help, having a place to land, you know, and just figure it out. And it was hard to like ask for help.
Right.
It was tough.
Right.
I'm not used to that. And there's a lot of programs around it, and receiving as well was tough. It shouldn't be, but it was. And, you know, I had to get agreement as well from my family as well. So, yeah, that worked out too.
Yeah.
And it really just comes down to, like, that intention. And my intention was strong enough to work through all the other things. Because I had that taste of what it felt like to be in a supportive, awake environment. Like, literally the environment of Gaia, but also the people. Having amazing food and doing amazing conversations and cool things every day.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, that's what our life is now.
Yeah. And I mean, we're not on a retreat every day. We still work and do all these things, but it's so full and abundant of amazing conversations and people and enjoying this environment and great food and coffee and tea and all the things.
Doing cool things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's amazing looking back, like where we are now to where we were before. And, you know, I think for both of us, if we were to like sit in our shoes back then and look at where we are now, probably been like, what? That's impossible. Or who knows, right? Where there is a level of like allowing that to unfold, right? And allowing it to be possible and knowing that it can become a reality, right? So hopefully, I guess for me, anybody listening, and if you've been in search of your tribe or you want to have a new experience with your tribe or a new location or things like that, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to drop where you are now. It doesn't mean necessarily you have to like change tribes, but it's all about how you're like showing up to the tribe. Like what is the location, and is it the right location for you? Is it most compatible for you? Looking at those things, and then also looking at what programs you have running, because everything 100% is your creation, right? So if it's, you know, oh, I would have a great tribe, but my husband, blah, blah, blah. Or I would have a great tribe, but my job, blah, blah, blah. You know, any of the blaming or like putting that ownership on something else to being a reason why not is giving your power away. And now you've given up any of your options, right? Because it's on somebody else or something else and no longer yours. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
I remembered another really important tool at the time.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So a big part of my story to finding my tribes was my spouses. And it was that. I was giving my power away. Like, oh my gosh, they're never going to agree. That kind of thing. So I did the control and manipulation class.
Ooh.
It's such a good class because it talks about this very topic. Like, how do your relationships create limitations or support your limitations, either consciously or unconsciously? And how do you limit yourself as a way? And how do you control and manipulate as a way? And it goes also into like how this isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? But it opens up the dynamic of these things of how are you allowing your job to control you, or how are you controlling others with your job or whatever. And that was such a key part because from that class, I was allowing my relationships to prevent me from moving. I was allowing my job to prevent me from moving. And so doing the exercises in that class was so important. And even just becoming aware of that, like, oh, I'm not a victim. Oh, I'm just using this person as an excuse. Huh. dang, okay, got to change my attitude then, or talk to them about it. So that was also a really important class that I strongly recommend if any of this resonates at all.
Very good point.
Yeah. But to what you were saying before, like, it's all about connection, right? And we have our creation, but we also aren't doing it in isolation, right? Like your move out here, my move out here. It wasn't just us working in isolation to make it happen.
No way.
We had so much help, so many tools and resources. And I hope that those listening take comfort in this, because it's like you don't need to have it all figured out. And reaching out, expanding, and connecting with others will make it easier, and also make you more powerful and your community more powerful too, because the stronger we connect, especially in high frequency ways, the more capable we become. And it's such a different perspective of not only finding a high frequency tribe versus like, how am I going to contribute to this tribe? How can my superpowers or skills or personality or whatever, what can I bring to this tribe as well? And I know that was a big thing that I was looking at too. Like, what value can I bring,
Right. Yeah. If I showed up at the Shaman Shack doorstep without a job and all like my worldly possessions gone, I wouldn't really be contributing much, right? And so it's such a good point of having that awareness around it, and thinking just beyond like the immediacy of like, I want a new place to live, or I want a new community or tribe or whatever. It's like being willing to look at, well, I'm here right now. Why don't I have XYZ? Right? Because whatever the answer is why you are creating what you're creating now. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I laugh because Kara and I have been talking about this around our other manifestations. We'll get into on another call, but we'll just say it's about husbands. Why not we now? Have them now? That's for another episode. Another podcast. Yeah. I didn't say call.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so incredible. I mean, everyone's story is going to be different. Everyone's situation is different. We're not saying everyone has to move to the Olympic Peninsula to find a high frequency tribe. Like, that's not the point of this story. The story is that once you become consciously aware of not only what is it that you truly want to experience, but how are you going to co-create that? And there's so many tools from Inelia Benz that shows exactly how to do that. And just doing some of them, not even all of them.
I was going to say, I know we didn't even talk about your limitations and how they're serving you. And, but there are, to your point, it's like there are so many, but just doing a few of them will make a world of difference. Just a few.
I think there's a disclaimer in Ascension 101 that says, like, this will change your life or something. Yeah.
I know. The goals and having it all over the place. I totally had the same thing. And that's what it's like. It was boom, boom, boom coming together.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's the thing is, if you do the work, your life will change.
Yes.
And it's something, to be aware of, literally, like aware of, knowing consciously that can happen and will happen if you allow it to. So, but that's kind of the fun part too, is seeing what changes you'll bring to your life by doing this work. And it can be incredibly positive.
And how the people and everything around you can change. Even the things that you feel like in your story, like your work, this immovable thing, it can't change, but that's actually not at all the reality. It could change for you, right? Not even just for you, but it can change. It's possible because you're the common denominator.
Exactly. It was literally impossible one day, and then reality the next.
Yes.
And it was a year and a half, I think, before the whole coronavirus thing.
Yeah.
So then, long story short, the whole company's remote now. But it was this impossible thing then. And that's the thing, is hindsight is always 2020 vision. It's obvious in hindsight, but like you were saying before, Ash, of at the time when you're going through your firewalls and your stuff and it feels like you're going upstream, you don't have it all figured out yet, but if you keep at it, keep doing the work, keep your frequency high,
Yep.
the flow will change, or you will change with the flow. And now it's like, oh yeah, here we are, of course.
This is life.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not like this ever? What? I wouldn't even know. This is how it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was fun sharing those stories. And I think one thing we can look at is what's coming up next.
Yeah.
More information, more resources coming up by Inelia.
Yeah. And we've talked about how we've joined this high frequency tribe in the Olympic Peninsula and also our tribe on Walk With Me Now. But if you're interested in joining another high frequency tribe, you have an upcoming opportunity to do so, because we're announcing that we're re-releasing the Emergency Lecture Series.
Special edition. The community special edition.
Woohoo! Which is super exciting. So it's been 1.5 years since we first launched this course, and it was all about the coronavirus. We rushed the launch because the lockdown was happening, and we wanted to get the information out ASAP, because as we know, it's been a wild ride. But since then, it's been 1.5 years, and we wanted to give an update about where things at. So Inelia has a 6th lecture, and
it's all about the jab.
yes. So the special edition of the Emergency Lecture Series has a new lecture in it, and there's 5 sections in that. Lecture 6, it's all about the jab, talking about basically what's happening today regarding this very hot topic. Really essential information in that.
Well, and the Emergency Lecture Series itself is it's pretty amazing, because it's like, it really is like a toolkit for the split. Mm-hmm. Here we are in the split. I mean, we maybe have been a part of other splits in the past, but I don't remember the details like that I could draw upon at this moment to tell you how to move through that. But the Emergency Lecture Series feels like it's an amazing toolkit that you can utilize and, do different aspects, or use different parts of it when it's appropriate, do the whole thing all at once, take out pieces when you need it, right? Like, there's just so many bits and tools that you can mix and match and put it all together. It's just so helpful because it's practical. And of course, we have the mystical tools with it too.
We love learning mystical tools from Inelia.
Yes.
But to your point, Ash, there's so much practical information in the lecture series, especially when it comes to dealing with people, whether it's your family or colleagues who are on the other side of the split. And how do you navigate that, right? And how do you communicate? How do you create new structures? So Inelia goes into great detail about a lot of these topics throughout the series. And the biggest difference about this experience is that you're not doing it alone.
Yes.
We're doing it together as a tribe.
Yes. And I mean, for any of you who have at least been listening to what we've been talking about as iBenz Academy and how we operate and what we do, it's all about community. It's all about doing this work with your tribe and being connected with others who are also engaged and committed to doing the work. So this community special edition of the Emergency Lecture Series is going to be offered where you'll be able to do it with your tribe. We'll have opportunities to have live calls with Inelia, have Q&A with her. So we want to make sure that we get that chance to ask questions or really understand the material and the resources in depth.
And we found, especially through the Instant Manifestation Workshop at the Academy, that learning with others is so much more effective. Not only in the sense that you have accountability or just even interest and it's more fun, but the actual learning process is just more effective because our strength is your strength and your strength is our strength. And when we're doing it together, we're able to uncover more or see a different perspective that maybe we wouldn't have seen studying it on our own. And we learn from each other. And we also have each other's back as well. And the more we co-create this experience, the more we gain from it as well, because with all of the superpowers of all the people joining this community, it's incredible, the high frequency tribe that we're going to create from this experience together.
It reminds me of just both the stories that you and I just shared today around none of this would have been possible if we hadn't participated, right? If we hadn't come to the retreat, if we hadn't engaged in Walk With Me Now. Of course, the work that we did on our own was really important, but we as individuals couldn't have made it all happen. It was the orchestration, it was having the allies, it was being able to work together that made it possible. So it's not just about completing this course with other people who are doing the course. It's also about the tribe. Mm-hmm. It's also about the connection. It's also about engaging with other people doing this work. Because to me, I would rather co-create with people doing this work than any others.
Absolutely. And there's just so much value in this class. I mean, there's 30 videos. Inelia goes into so much depth, mystically, practically, about what to do, dealing with the split, everything to do with like communication, to how do you set up your house, to just function effectively. I mean, we're talking about daily life stuff, right? But lecture 6 is also all going into all the details about what to do about the jab, and if your family members have gotten jabbed and you haven't, or vice versa, and all of these things. So it's really important material that we want to get out there, but more importantly, we want our tribe to be effective, high-frequency leaders. And by co-creating and stepping up and engaging and being proactive in this experience, we become more powerful as a result, because your strength's our strength and our strength's your strength. And we're super excited to also have some other additional perks in the special edition, like transcripts, a more enriching experience with the community, being able to talk more directly with one another. And because it's a community-based experience, there are some timelines to be aware of.
So with the community special edition, registration will begin today, and then it will close on December 20th. We are going to have live calls, 3 live calls. So Wednesday, December 22nd, the December 29th, and then the last call will be January 5th. Those will be at 12 o'clock Pacific time, or as some of us say, Shaman Shack time.
Yes, and we recognize with people all around the world, maybe that time doesn't work out, but you'll still be able to submit questions to Inelia, and we'll record those videos so that you can access them even if you can't show up to the live call. But the thing is that this is a one-time deal. Like, we're trying really hard to get this info out now, because there's a split going on. It's the holidays, and it's all about the jab. So December 22nd, 29th, and January 5th, it's a crucial time right now for us in the High Frequency Human Collective. There's a lot happening on the planet. So if you have any potential blocks or firewalls coming up of, I don't know, it's the holidays, or, it's a busy time of year, it's even more important now to connect with high frequency individuals. Stay high frequency, guard your frequency, and join your tribe, especially during this time.
So if you've already purchased the full emergency lecture series, look out for an email coming from us, from iBenz Academy. We'll give you details on how you can still participate with both the additional lecture, the special edition lecture 6, as well as the live community option.
We're super excited to have this info, but also to co-create it with you. So stay tuned. Make sure you're signed up on our newsletter, ibenzacademy.com, for more details to come. And also join us on Telegram. That's where you also hear a lot of up-to-date info from us.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. It's nice to be able to share our journey with you. If there's things that you guys are curious about, that you have questions on, or topics you'd like us to explore, share with us on our Telegram. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you.
And we'll see you on the first live call with Inelia on Wednesday, December 22nd.
All right. Don't forget to register. See you there.
Bye.